Hey everyone, welcome back to Ashbounre Library. I'm Emer and we're here for another Books at Bedtime session. So this week we're going to read through some Irish legends. We're going to start with this book, which was adapted and illustrated by Niamh Sharkey. And this contains 3 Irish legends, which are the Children of Lear, How Setanta Became Cúchulainn, and Oisin in Tirnanook. This book was published by Mercier Press. We're also going to read 2 other legends, so Diarmid and Grania and the Vengeance of Fionn, and Heroes of the Red Branch Knights. So these 2 were published by Poolbeg. The stories were adapted by Anne Carroll and illustrated by Derry Dillon. So, hope you're ready to go. How Setanta Became Cúchulainn. When little Setanta went to sleep at night, he dreamed wonderful dreams. In these dreams, he was a red branch knight with a silver sword and a golden shield. He was the bravest warrior in all Ireland and could fight any man or beast. Charging through dark woods on horseback, riding through the deepest of glens, or climbing the highest mountains, Setanta would have fantastic adventures. But all dreams must come to an end, and in the morning when he awoke, Setanta was still just a boy. During the sunny days, Setanta loved to go hunting and fishing with his father. His father's name was Sultan. He was a brave warrior and taught Setanta many things. The 2 would set off in the darkness before sunrise and go hunting in the forest near their home. Sultan brought his son everywhere, teaching him the ways of a warrior. For his 7th birthday, Setanta got a hurdy stick and a tiny silver ball from his father and mother. Setanta thought his presents were marvellous and he played with them all day. He even brought them to bed with him. Setanta asked his father every day, "When will I be old enough to join the Red Branch Knights?" Sultan would answer, "Setanta, you're only 7 years old. The Red Branch Knights are all fully grown men. Maybe next year I'll let you join the Macra." The Macra were like Boy Scouts, young boys who learn the skills of hunting and sport. They trained to be young warriors. The best of the best became Knights of the Red Branch. One night, Setanta was in bed and supposed to be asleep, but he was awake and feeling thirsty. He crept downstairs to fetch a cup of water, and as he reached the kitchen door, he heard his mother and father talking. He put his ear to the door and realised that they were talking about his mother's brother, Connor, who lived at Macca. His uncle was the King of Ulster. The Red Branch Knights lived in his castle. Setanta could not believe his ears. He decided there and then to travel to his uncle's stronghold, sure that the king would let him join the Knights of the Red Branch. Setanta crept upstairs, dressed himself for a journey, and took up his hurdy and silver ball. He tiptoed past the kitchen and let himself out the front door. It was pitch dark when he started, and the journey was a slow one. During the day, he threw his silver ball high in the air as he walked, and bounced it along with his stick. At night he slept under the stars in the dark forests. His sleep was light since he knew the woods were full of wild animals who might gobble him up for dinner. After many days like this, Setanta at last reached his uncle's great fort. Outside, a group of boys were playing hurling. They were the older boys from the Macra. Setanta jumped in and started to play, even though he was tired from his long journey. He ran rings around the older boys, even slipping under a taller boy's legs to score a goal. He shouted in delight, but when he turned around, 10 sets of angry eyes stared at him. The Macra were very, very upset to be beaten by such a small fellow. The 10 angry boys jumped on Setanta, but again he was more than fit for the lot of them. He tossed them to the ground and broke all their hurleys. King Connor was looking from his bedroom window in the castle and was amazed to see 10 of his best young warriors beaten by such a small boy. He hurried outside to talk to him. Connor called to the boy, "Who are you?" Setanta turned around. "My name is Setanta," he said, "son of Dectra and Sultan. I have travelled many miles to join the company of the Red Branch Knights." "My goodness," cried the king, "you are my sister's child. I am your uncle, Connor the King. Welcome to Macca." "As to your wish to join the Red Branch," the king shook his head, "I'm sorry, nephew, but you are far too young. All the knights are fully grown men. Maybe in a couple of years you will have a better chance." Setanta was sad. His dreams were shattered. When Conor saw the tears in Setanta's eyes, he had an idea. "Why don't you explore the fort and then follow me to Culleinn's castle? He is throwing a feast and all the Red Branch Knights will be there. You will meet them." King Conor's castle was huge. Setanta counted 150 rooms. The ceilings were made of copper and bronze that sparkled like gold. Setanta could see his reflection in them as he ran about. As the sun began to sink, Setanta began the long trek to Culleinn's castle. He was so excited. At last, he was to meet the Red Branch Knights. Cúchulainn was the most famous smith in Ulster. Smiths forged weapons for the warriors, and Cúchulainn made the deadliest swords. If your finger even touched the blade of one of his weapons, it would bleed. Cúchulainn was throwing a mighty feast to follow a day of hunting on his lands. It was to thank Conor and his knights for buying their swords from him. The feasters were entertained by feats of juggling, poetry, songs and dancing. There was plenty of food and too much wine. Towards the end of the feast, Cúchulainn turned to Conor to ask, "Is anyone else coming to the feast?" Conor was more than a little drunk. He had had too much red wine. Cúchulainn was a blur in front of him. Conor forgot that he had asked little Setanta to come along later. "No, I don't think so," he answered. "Why?" Cúchulainn replied that he had a great hound tied up in the grounds. "He is the most feared dog in Ireland with the strength of 100 men. If nobody else is coming, I will set him free to protect us while we're sleeping." "That's fine by me," said King Conor as he stumbled upstairs to bed. A great yellow moon glowed in the purple sky above Setanta's head as he made his way to Culleinn's fort. The night was so cold he could see his breath making patterns in the air. Ahead of him, he could just make out the soft glow of Culleinn's castle in the distance. He decided to sit down for a little rest. A blood-curdling howl made him freeze. A second howl echoed through the forest. He stood up, trying not to make a sound. He couldn't see anything moving at all. As if from nowhere, the hound of Culleinnn appeared. He was the biggest dog Setanta had ever seen, the size of a small horse. When the hound growled and gnashed his teeth, he foamed at the mouth. Mad red eyes were fixed on Setanta as the hellhound got ready to pounce. Setanta looked around for a weapon. Tossing sods of grass at this barking mad dog wouldn't save him. His hurley and ball were his only chance. Suddenly the hound leapt. As it did so, Setanta took a deep breath, bounced the silver ball on the ground and smacked it with his hurley. With the speed of light, the silver ball flew through the air and got the hound right between the eyes. The beast stopped in mid-flight and fell to the ground at the boy's feet. King Conor fell across the bed, asleep before he even had time to cover himself with his bearskin. He awoke almost immediately to the sound of chilling howls and the noise of fighting. He dashed from the bedroom and ran down the steps of the castle shouting, "I forgot about little Setanta. He will be minced up by the hound of Cúchulainn." Half-dressed Red Branch Knights ran out into the dark, followed by Cúchulainn and Conor. The sight that met them made them rub their eyes. They found a little boy standing beside the dead hound. Cúchulainn cried in horror, "What has happened to my mastiff?" "I am truly sorry," said the boy. "I am Setanta, son of Sultan. I am the one who killed your guard dog with my silver ball." "I'm glad that you are safe, young Setanta," said Cúchulainn sadly. "But I shall be lost without my hound that I loved and that protected me when I went to sleep at night." "Do not worry, Cúchulainn," said Setanta in a manly voice. "I shall find you the cleverest whelp in the country and train you to be the best watchdog in Ireland. Until that day, I will guard your sheep and your castle against invaders." Cúchulainn scratched his head and then smiled broadly. "Thank you, Setanta," he said. "I am content that you shall guard my castle, for you have proved that you are stronger than any hound. Henceforth your name will be Cúchulainn, Culleinn's hound." The Red Branch Knights laughed when they heard that a 7-year-old boy was to be the new hound of Cúchulainn. Setanta was delighted to meet the knights at last. He went around shaking all their hands and asking their names. He had to tell them crossly to stop laughing. He was going to be the best guard dog on 2 legs that they had ever seen. Cúchulainn became the best guard in the whole of Ireland. The smith made him a special sword and shield to guard his fort. When the Red Branch Knights saw how strong he was, they asked him to join, even though he was still a young boy. Setanta's dream had come true. Even when Cúchulainn became the leader and the most famous of the Red Branch Knights, he always kept a little silver ball close at hand. It had once saved his life, and there was no way of knowing when he would need it again.